Hey there, guys. This is Yakkin with Nick, and I am Nick Hazelton, your host. And I want to talk about yaks today, but first I want to apologize for any background noise. It's pretty stormy, and my studio's not very soundproof. It's fairly sound conditioned, but it's not soundproof. And if you don't know the difference, you don't get to know. Sorry, guys. Also, I don't remember if I said I had a cold. I know I said that there might be background noise, but that's why I might sound a little bit different. Kind of resisted doing a show this week. So like, well, I don't sound that good. I need to be pretty for the audio. But I am caring more about production of content than audio quality. I know Michael W. Dean would be very upset if he heard me say that, but that's just the fact of the matter. That is Freedom Fiends. Blasphemy. Heresy. Those are the words I was looking for. All right. I want to talk about yaks today. We spent this was a pretty good week on the farm. We did quite a bit of work. We moved pigs from one field to another, which is not that hard, actually. That's not that hard. We seeded a pasture that they were on, so they have more sort of, grow back. So we planted some seeds there, and then we brushed out yaks. We brushed yak fiber, and that's what I want to talk about is yak fiber. If you don't know, I really like yaks. In fact, I raised them myself. Did you know that? Yeah, that's why it's called Yakkin with Nick. I emphasize like with Nick, but I meant to emphasize the Yakkin. Yeah, you probably knew that. So I like yaks, and for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons I got into them, or why I really decided that I wanted to raise them, is the versatility of the animal. They can be used in very many ways. They can be used as a draft animal, to move machinery like plows or whatever, to ride for transportation, to I guess that's all in terms of draft, but they have dairy and meat, and then they also have wool. So that's like your ox, your horse, your cows, and your sheep put into one animal. Isn't that crazy? Just one animal, a yak. So that's why I really like these animals. And one of the cool things is, it's an excellent quality meat. It's super lean, and it just tastes good. It's a nice meat. And then they're a decent animal. They're not super dumb like a cow. They're pretty smart, and they're not quite as friendly as a cow, but they can be warmed up too. You can get them to train them and to make them friendly. It's not that hard to do. They're not quite like buffalo, where they're just wild animals that you cannot handle. Or I've seen people handle buffalo, but it's hard. It's hard compared to yaks. And I totally blanked on what I was thinking, but I'm talking about meat. And the dairy is supposed to be really good. I don't know anything about the dairy, unfortunately. They're supposed to be high fat, which I think is good. There are differing opinions maybe, but it makes it really great for yogurt and ice cream and things like that. And then the fiber, which is what I want to talk about today, is super high quality. This is one of the best fibers in the world, I think. Many people would agree with me. Mike, the main thing that I hear, like, I'm not a fiber artist, I'm not an expert on fiber, so maybe I shouldn't have an opinion, but for my research, it seems that a big factor in the quality of fiber is the diameter of the hair follicles, the pieces of hair. And I believe they're measured in microns, but recently somebody told me that microns are also what they use to count allergens in a thing. I don't know, but I've heard that microns are also, from my research, a micron is the measurement of a diameter of hair. And there's I don't know, the smaller the diameter, the softer the fiber will be. And there's some very high quality fibers, like cashmere and merino wool. Silk is a very high quality fiber. But I think silk, yeah, silk I think is way softer than any of those. But yak is comparable to merino wool and cashmere wool, which is interesting. I think there's like those four animals. Is the cat? I don't know anything about merino sheep. I don't know anything about cashmere sheep. I don't know if cashmere is a certain breed of sheep. I know merino is a breed of sheep, but I don't know where this all comes from. I assume that cashmere is from the Kashmir province in India and Pakistan, but I don't know. So I don't know a whole lot. Sorry guys, I'm not a fiber expert, but what I'm trying to get to is that these are very high quality fibers because of their low micron. They're the low diameter. They have small diameters, makes them soft, and the yak really compares to that. It's cashmere is like 18 to 20 microns. I believe that merino wool is from like 12 to 14, maybe 12 to 16, and I believe that muskox kiviot, which is their fiber, is like 8 to 12, but I'm not completely sure. But a yak is like 14 to 18, so it's kind of in between merino wool and cashmere from what I've been able to research. And when they're talking about this fiber, there's two different kinds of fiber on a yak. There's a coarse fiber that kind of protects them from water and maybe wind. I don't know exactly, but that's from my research. It's mainly for protection against rain, to let the rain kind of just fall off. And that kind of grows out over the wool down kind of fiber. It's not wool because that's specific to sheep, but it's a down fiber that's very similar to wool. And it's super soft and it's super neat. And that's meant to, they grow that for an insulating layer. They're adapted to a very high altitude and a cold climate. So it gets cold up in the Himalayas and they need that insulating fiber, and they need something to protect them from the snow and the rain up there. And that's where those fibers come from. But that down fiber is what we're trying to collect. And that's what we did this week is we brushed out the animals. You don't actually shear them like you would sheep. I don't know about anything about muskox kiviot, but I think it's the same practice. If you're going to harvest fiber from muskox, you're going to brush them, because I believe both of those animals, and I think this is true for all bovine, at least bison, yak, and muskox. These are the ones that typically put on hair for the winter, because the plains, the Great Plains of North America, they get cold. The tundra in Alaska and in Canada is very cold, so the muskox need fiber, and then up in the Himalayas it's cold too, right? So they all grow this fiber in the fall and into the winter so that they can have an insulating layer and keep themselves warm during those cold winters. And then when spring and summer comes along, they drop that fiber, they shed it. So we try to get that fiber right about now is when they start dropping it. Some of them are dropping it, some of them aren't. I don't know why they have different biological clocks or what's going on, what really sets them to drop that fiber. I'm not sure. But right about now is when the yaks are dropping fiber here in Oregon. It's starting to warm up quite a bit here. We had some freezing this week, I guess, so it's not quite done, but it's getting there. We're warming up. So they're dropping it off, and we're trying to collect it before it drops off, because if it drops off, it falls down in the pasture, and it's I could go running around and collect it, except the wind blows it away, and so I don't know where it goes. I can't collect all of it. So we have these brushes, and I don't know how to really describe what kind of a brush it is. It's not a hair brush like you and I would use, or I don't know if you have long hair. I have long hair, so I have to brush my hair. But it's not that kind of brush. It's the kind of brush that you would use to use on a horse, I guess. I don't know. It's a livestock brush. It's a single row of teeth, and they kind of like one's long, one's short, one's long, one's short, one's long, one's short. That's the one that we use, and that works. I've seen other people use different combs that work differently and maybe better than what we use, but we're still trying to figure out what's the easiest and most efficient way, the best brush, the best time, when to do all these things and how to do it, because it's our second year collecting fiber, and we've 6 times timed, how do you say that? multiplied our yield by 6 this year so far. We're not done yet. We brushed out like maybe 14, 12 yaks this last few days, and we've got a lot more to do. But yeah, so they're dropping that fiber, so we're grabbing it and we brush it, and it just comes off. It just comes off, and it has some of those guard hairs, is what they call them, the coarse hair. That's what I call it, at least. Maybe they don't, and I am mistaken, but I believe it's called guard hair. Some of that gets into the wool, into the down, and so what you have to do with yak is put it through a dehairing process. I don't know what the difference between dehairing and carding is, but I believe there's a difference. To make yarn or something, you have to card it. I don't know what that is. I'm not a fiber person. I apologize to anybody that is and understands that better than I do. But these yaks, yeah, they have a lot of hair in it, so we had to put it through a dehairing process. And right now, I'm selling to Bellwether Wool Company out of Wren, Oregon. At least that's I don't fully understand the structure of the company, but my contact there is Lois Oland. I believe she co-runs that wool company with another person in Oregon. But they're a local wool company, and she was very excited. She was the first person that came to me and said, "I'll buy all your yak fibers." So that's where it all goes. Last year, I was selling it at $4 an ounce, uncarded, unhaired, with still, is not clean or anything. Just $4 an ounce, which is about 4 times more than regular wool. So it's spendy. It's a very high quality fiber, and that's why, right? But I don't know exactly what we'll do this year. It'll probably work out to be, after being dehaired, something like $8 an ounce. That's about the market price, or at least from what other people are selling that I know. So yeah, that's probably what it's going to be at. But it's an interesting process the way we get these animals. So I herd them into a thing called a roundabout, or a squeeze chute. This is, if you're familiar with Temple Grandin, this is something that she designed. Temple Grandin was I think she may still be alive, but I think she passed away in the last few years. She pretty much revolutionized the way people handle animals. She was famous for being autistic, and she knew a lot about cattle and grazing animals. She's very smart, and there's a great movie about her. Can't remember what it's called, but Temple Grandin, look it up. She's written a number of books, and she pretty much designed all the system that pretty much all cattle producers use to collect animals. So you herd them into this. It's how do I describe it? But it's like I don't know how to describe it. But it's basically think of a maze with one, there's nothing branching off of it really. But it's just kind of a round circle. So we bring them in one end of this circle. It's not a full circle. It's more than a half circle. It's like 7/8 of a circle, if that makes any sense. But it has 2 openings. You bring them in one, and it curves around to what we call a squeeze. And as we curve around, it narrows down so the animals can't fit in. It goes from maybe 5 animals wide to 3 to 2 to 1. And then by the time they get in the squeeze, usually it's only 1. Sometimes those yaks squeeze in there with each other, and we have to make sure only one goes into the squeeze at a time. And the squeeze is a device where the animal goes in, and there are different kinds of squeezes. There are ones that actually squeeze the animal. This is something that Temple Grandin also came up with. Not just the design of that chute that brings them into that squeeze, but she designed the squeeze, I believe. I believe that's true. So we bring them into there, and we have it catches them at the neck. So the animal goes through, they get their head through, and they clamp down, and it gets them between the neck and the shoulders. So they can't pull through back because they're just their jaw or whatever, the shape of their neck can't let them go through. And yaks have horns, so they can't pull back and they can't move forward because they can't fit through that small space. But you squeeze it down on them, and then they're stuck in this this contraption, and then we can handle them without them being able to harm us, because they could kick us if we're not careful, but they can't swing, they can't move, and that makes it for a much safer process if you're going to handle animals. That's what we use if we're going to bring them in for a vet check, or if we just want to look at them for ear tagging, for castrating, whatever it is. You bring them into that system and into that contraption, and then we can handle them. So that's what we did to brush the animals, is we brought them into that chute and we got them into the squeeze, and then we just sat there with them with the brushes and we brushed them out. Some of the yaks enjoy it. Some of them don't really mind it, and some of them kind of get tired of it for a while. I think there's some of them have the really, really woolly ones are kind of harder. I think it's harder on them because they have more fiber and it's more tangled, so it kind of hurts. If you have a lot of tangles in your hair, it's not fun. And if you don't brush your hair, and the yaks don't brush their hair, so it's not always fantastic. But overall, I think it's they're pretty happy. I wouldn't say that this is something that if I were truly trying to get them to live a completely natural lifestyle, that I would do that, because obviously wild yaks aren't being brushed. But as a livestock animal, that's what people have been doing with them for centuries. So actually, I don't know if they brush them in Tibet and Nepal and all those regions. I don't know what they do to collect fiber. I think that they brush, but then also collect the dreadlocks when they fall off. So anyway, that's what we did. We got them in there, and it took maybe, depending on the yak, some yaks have more fiber than others. I've noticed that bulls tend not to have as much fiber as the cows and the calves. And then also royal yaks. Royal yaks are white and black. If you've seen pictures of my bull Prince, he is a royal yak, where most of my cows are imperial yaks, which is full black. So the yaks that are royal tend not to have as much fiber, but the yaks that are trim, which means they have a little bit of white, like white on the forehead, white on the feet, and white on the tail, and the full imperials tend to have more fiber. Not totally sure why. I don't know. I have no idea, honestly. But that's something I've noticed. I just don't know. But the calves, I think, have more fiber on them because they're as they're born, especially if they're born late in the season, they have to put on that fiber, that insulating down layer, so they can be warm. Otherwise, they're going to freeze to death, right? And you don't need that because they're a small animal. They don't have the same amount of fat or insulation. They just can't generate the same kind of heat that a bigger animal could. So I think that's why they have more fiber than the adults typically do. But some of our yaks are pretty woolly, and that's another type of yak. They're bred to have that woolly feature, and we have a couple of those in the herd. And you could tell, a woolly yak compared to a regular yak if you can see their eyes or not. The woolly yaks have bangs, so you can't really see their eyes. I don't know how they see out of them. They do. They see me coming. Maybe they hear me or something because they have good hearing. I don't know, but they can see. I know they can see. But yeah, so there are those two different kinds of yaks, and the woolly ones obviously have more down fiber come off them, and it's a pretty considerable difference. I'd say that a majority of the fiber that we got out of the 12 animals that we brushed probably came from 4, and the rest were there's a little bit here and there, and there was definitely some, but most of them were coming from more woolly yaks. Yaks do not grow fiber equally. Some yaks are more equal than others. Is that what it is? There's a saying there that I'm blanking on. I'm sick. I'm sorry, guys. That's what I'm blaming it on. That's my poor excuse. These things happen when I'm not sick either, but I pretend that's not true. So that's kind of the gist of yak fiber. I don't know if I can really explain it more. Yeah. we got 6 pounds off them this year so far. I'm gonna keep rushing out. I hope when it's nicer, because there's a lot more fiber on those yaks. But yeah, I hope that you thought this was interesting, and I hope to share more about yaks. I think occasionally I'll share something. You know, I covered the wool aspect. Someday we will cover the meat aspect. Someday we will cover the all the other parts of the animal as I get to learn more about it. Yeah, I know mostly I know the meat pretty well. I know the fiber fairly well. I know hardly anything about dairy, but nobody really does, as far as I know. Maybe I haven't done enough research. And then I don't know much about about them being pack and draft animals. But those things will be discussed in the future. So if you're interested in learning more about yaks, or you have any questions, shoot them to me. yakkinwithnick@gmail.com. You can email me any questions you'd like, especially if you'd like to be anonymous. Do that. Email me, or you can comment on Facebook where I post the shows. You can comment on the website, I believe, at justyakin.libsyn.com. That's justyakin.libsyn.com. That's justyakin.libsyn.com. And then you can also, I think that's all only places you can comment. I'd also like to hear feedback in my Facebook group. That's a really great place to leave feedback. I try to keep that I don't know. I guess any feedback I'm welcome. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I want to focus that feedback in a certain direction, but I'm typically looking for what do you think about what am I doing here? Like, how am I hosting this show? How did I come up with enough interview questions? You know, scrap that. That's a weird. I don't need to make that distinction because I don't know if that's true. I don't know why I thought that. The Yakkin with Nick feedback group. If you look that up on Facebook, you'll find it. Please join it. Leave your feedback there. Whatever you think, whatever you want to say to me, I'm open to it. If you think I suck, let me know. Appreciate it if you say it nicely. But totally, let me know what you think. And ask any questions. If you want to know more about yaks, I can do a show about it. Let me know what you want to hear on this program, and I'll let you know. So anyway, with that, I'll leave you. Oh, wait. Gotta ask for money. Yeah, if you like this show and what I do, you like hearing this kind of information, and you'd like me to keep doing it, consider helping me out financially, because it costs money to do this show. Right now, it costs me $14.12 a month, because I have $5.18 coming to me through donations every month. Actually, that's not true. I have another $5. My grandfather pays me in cash. That's what he said he'll do. He won't do it on Patreon. He'll do it in cash. So he gave me $5. So I guess it's down to $10 a month. But it'd be really cool if I could offset that count, or that loss in money through donations. That would be really cool. I'm hoping to make $25 a month. So hop on patreon.com/justyakin. That's JUSTYAKKIN. Patreon, patreon.com/justyakin. Patreon.com/justyakin. You could pledge $1 or $5 or $10 a month, and it would be greatly appreciated. And with that, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you again next week.